Hey guys, my name's Emily and welcome to my channel again. I proved to myself, I guess, that I can at least upload one video and actually post it. So here we are again today, and I'm gonna actually film the Booktube Newbie Tag. So this will be my second video, I guess, on this channel. So let's just get right into it. I do have the questions written down on a notebook here, so if I'm looking down, it's just to read those questions. But the first question is, why did you start this channel? And I guess I started it just for the same reasons anybody else would have started a booktube channel. I guess it's just to talk about books and the books I'm reading, the books I want to read, books I'm excited about, books I don't like, and get to enjoy that with all of you. There aren't that many people in my personal life that I talk about reading with. Or there are people that I talk about it with, but not on a consistent or deep level, really. So I'm really excited to hopefully gain some community here that I can do that with. Number 2. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Well, I don't know that my channel would be that unique compared to anyone else's, but we all do have our own unique reading histories and reading tastes. So even if there's similarities, everyone's at least a little bit different in that. But I'm just excited to join the conversation with everybody. I mean, I do have some potentially fun, maybe little projects to do or read. Maybe something a little more unique is that I kind of want to be focused more on backlist titles. I don't really read many new releases. Not that I don't read any, but that's not where my focus is. And I also really am interested in not just like backlist books in the 2000s, but books from decades and decades and decades ago, from the 60s and 70s. And I know that's not that long ago, but books that were before my time that people enjoyed, but that would be still wholly new to me, that I've never heard of but would really enjoy. So I'm interested in finding some of those titles. Number 3, what are you most excited about for your channel? And I mean, that's just the same, just getting to talk to all of you about reading and getting to participate in this community that is so welcoming and encouraging. And I'm excited to find new titles to read. I'm excited to hear people's book suggestions, and I'm excited to find new booktubers to watch too. And I'm really interested to hear different viewpoints on books I like or books I don't like. If there's a book that I don't like, I want to hear why someone else does like it, and vice versa, because we all come to books with our own unique perspectives. So I'm excited to hear more of that. Number 4, why do you love reading? Wow. Why do I love reading? It takes you somewhere else. You get to go somewhere else. You get to go to a different time. You get to go to a completely fictional, fantastical place. You get to be someone else, live inside someone else's head. Yeah, it's a complete removal from where you currently are. And also too, I have always been, maybe not always, but I am profoundly interested in human nature and human relationships and the dynamics and how relationships work and fall apart and things like that. And for me, a lot of the literature and the novels that I love and that mean a lot to me are ones that are, in my opinion, revealing or reflective of human nature and what's in the human heart, and show things that we might have always known were true about us or even about ourselves, but that we never would have been able to put words to before or articulate in the same way. But just that moment when you read a book and something's described and it's like, oh, I have felt that way. I never knew anyone else knew what that was. And that's such a special and profound feeling that I continually chase in my reading. And number 5, what book series got you into reading? Wow, okay. This will take me way back because I do love a series. I love a good series. I hate for a story to be over. So maybe that's why I like fantasy a lot, is because there are a lot of series in fantasy. But gosh, okay, so from the time I was very young, I read the American Girl doll books, Samantha's and Molly's, Felicity's, and all of those. I read the Dear America books. Does anybody remember those? They're like the diaries of the girls. And I read, there were a lot of horse books. There was the Black Stallion series, that there were tons of books in that series, and I don't remember what it was called, but there was another series of horse books by Marguerite Henry. I think, gosh, I cannot even remember what they were, but she had a lot of horse books. And there was a series called The Saddle Club and, gosh, The Babysitter's Club. I read all of those books. I read Nancy Drew, and I read the Animorphs series. Does anybody remember those? And what else? And when Harry Potter came out, I read those. I was kind of the age group of readers where they were coming out, and Harry was the same age that we were. So I read those books as they came out. And The Lord of the Rings was my favorite. That The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings stayed with me, and that I loved reading before, but those brought a different element to it for me. Let's see, number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Wow. I don't know that I would have, I'm sure I would have questions, but I don't know that I would have questions as much as just want to say thank you. The booktubers that I watch have all been so encouraging, blatantly encouraging, very specifically encouraging people to start their own booktube channels. And I feel like you don't see that in any other YouTube community, and not even in all segments of booktube, but there is a part of booktube where people are overwhelmingly welcoming, encouraging, and so greatly desire more and more people to be part of the conversation. And they're not concerned about the area being oversaturated with more people or anything like that. And it is so wonderful, and I am just thankful for that. It's people like Steve Donahue, Randy Ray, Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, and many other people, but I know they specifically have stated and encouraged people recently even to start their own channels, and they are part of the reason why I finally sat down in this chair and started to do this. So just a thank you to them. Number 7, what challenges will be the hardest with Booktube? For me personally, the challenges will be time and consistency. The challenge will be taking the time away from my other obligations of work and family and things like that to take the time to sit down and film. That will be the difficulty. And then coupled with that will be taking the time to do it consistently to keep my relationships up with you all. So that's where I want my focus to be, is on those things. And it will probably mean that I do a decent amount maybe of pre-filming. There may be days where I know I have a good amount of time to film, but maybe that's the only day I have that week to film something. So it may be that I film 2 or 3 videos that day and space out their posting or something like that. And that might be what ends up working for me. I'm not sure, but we'll see how all that shakes out as we go. But the biggest thing for me was just getting started. Initially, that was the hardest thing, was just starting. But now that we have started, the biggest challenges will be taking the time to continue. Number 8, when did you start reading? Well, if that question is asking when was I able to read, that was before kindergarten. I came into kindergarten reading those tiny little intro reader books. If it's meaning when did I begin reading as a hobby, that would have been in elementary school as well. And after a gap in doing that after grad school, I picked it back up again about 2 years ago. So I'm not quote unquote a new reader, but I am a recently returned reader, I suppose. Number 9, where do you read? I primarily read in my home. I have a chair upstairs in our living room up there where I have my coffee in the morning and my tea or wine at night, and that's where I mostly read. Sometimes I read in the bed, but mostly just in that chair upstairs. I'm not a huge audiobook listener. I have listened to them more in the last year, but I have a commute about once a week for work. That's a couple hours round trip, and so I use that time sometimes to listen to audiobooks. Not always, but sometimes I'll listen to audiobooks then. And when I take my walks in the neighborhood, sometimes I'll listen to audiobooks then. But I'm primarily a physical, tangible book reader. Number 10, what kind of books do you read? I read, like I said, mainly backlist titles, I guess. Mainly fiction. I do read some nonfiction, but primarily fiction. I read historical fiction. I read fantasy, some literary fiction, depending on what it is. Some science fiction. I'll read the occasional mystery or thriller or crime novel. I really do not read horror. Beyond like something like a classic like Dracula or something like that, but I don't read any other type of horror novel. I enjoy reading the classics as well. I do read the classics. I also really enjoy reading plays. Maybe I can talk about that in a later video. It's, people talk about whether or not listening to audiobooks counts as reading, and I do take the position that listening to a book is not reading a book strictly by definition. But That doesn't mean there is anything wrong with listening to an audiobook. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is different. And in the same way as reading a play is different than going to a theater to see a play being performed. You are involving yourself in this media in a way in which it wasn't necessarily meant to be given to you. And you can glean different things from it because of that, but you know, a book was meant to be read physically, and there are benefits to hearing a book aloud. That's been shown, certainly, particularly for children, like reading aloud to your children and things like that. Audiobooks are a wonderful thing. But the same thing for a play. A play is meant to be performed on a stage, and that's how the screenwriter, the playwright, meant it to be seen by you. And so reading it on the page is a different experience than seeing it performed, but I do enjoy reading plays as well. So tangent aside, sorry. But well, that's the last question in the Booktube Newbie Tag. So maybe you learned a little bit more about me. If you are also a Booktube newbie, welcome. Come find me. I'll try to come find you, and let's be friends. But I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks. Bye.